Collins, now the Newcastle County Executive, who's our featured guest tonight. He began his political career in 1974 when he was first elected as Auditor of Accounts at the ripe old age of 28. He was the youngest person ever elected to statewide office, and he went on to get 3 terms as the auditor, and then after that he moved to his present post as county executive in November of 1980. He's also active in many community fairs and charities, and also has the distinction of being chosen by the national JCs as one of the most outstanding young men in America. Let's meet now our Newcastle County Executive, Rick Collins. Hi, Rick.
Nice to be here.
Rick, President Reagan just announced a new plan that we all heard last night, I guess it was, to give state and local governments the responsibility of running programs now carried out by federal government. How do you feel this is going to affect our county?
Well, I certainly endorse the programs that were outlined by the President. I think he's moving in the right direction, and in terms of the impact here in Delaware, we are very fortunate that on the county level we will not feel that impact as severely as my counterparts in other counties. The reason for that being that the majority of those programs are carried out on the state level here in Delaware. So Governor DuPont will have to contend with some of those federal cutbacks more so than I will as county executive. We will be impacted in some areas in LEAA funding, some CETA funding, of course, some public works projects, so we will feel a slight impact here in Newcastle County.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'd like to talk to you now about what you feel your major accomplishments were in your first year in office, and what do you feel that were some of the accomplishments that you would have liked to have accomplished but didn't?
Well, obviously in the first year of an administration you do not get to all the things that you would like to get to. Hopefully in the next 3 years we will accomplish what we set out to do and talked about during the campaign. I guess the most important accomplishments, first putting the financial house in order in Newcastle County government. My primary goal there was to hold down the cost of county government. It's been a rapidly growing government in the past, extremely costly. The budget is now $62.5 million, and I was very interested in having my department directors hold the line on spending. And we were able to accomplish that in the first year, holding spending to a 3.8% increase, less than 4%, and in a time of double-digit inflation, we're obviously very proud of that. The second most important accomplishment, if I had to rank them, I guess, would be our accomplishments in the area of economic development. And by economic development, I mean creating more jobs and creating a more favorable business climate here in Newcastle County. Specifically, we have been able to attract Citibank, which is the largest bank, into the Newcastle County Airport. That is a greatly underutilized asset here in our county, and one that has suffered from neglect over the years, and we were determined to turn that situation around, and by Citibank building an $11 million computer operations center out at the airport, which they hope to be in by this summer, by the way, which is very quick. That bank will serve as the anchor for further development at the Newcastle County Airport.
And the second part of my question, what are some of the accomplishments that you would have liked to have attained but didn't?
Again, the budget will be a priority in years to come. Holding the line on spending, that will be an ongoing problem for the next 3 years. I think in the remaining years, again, we would like to increase the emphasis on providing jobs here in Newcastle County. We've only scratched the surface in my judgment, and of course we'll be proceeding with that in the years to come.
Let's talk about County Council, of course, your legislative arm. What kind of working relationship have you established with the County Council President Karen Peterson and the County Council itself?
Actually, the relationship between County Council has been fairly good, actually. I think a lot of people were expecting a Republican administration to come in, facing two members of council who wanted to be county executive and who were one defeated in a primary, the other defeated in the general election, that would be an impossible situation. But actually we have been able to have a good working relationship with the majority of the members of council. There are a few major disagreements that we've had. I've vetoed 9 pieces of legislation, one of which the veto was overridden. But I felt very strongly about those issues which I did veto. The second part of your question, as far as the relations with Newcastle County Council President Karen Peterson, they've been very good. We have an excellent working relationship. I think we see eye to eye on a number of issues, especially on financial issues and economic development issues, and I would say that working relationship is quite good, and I expect it to be good for the remainder of my term in office and for Ms. Peterson's term in office.
Now, the county paramedic program has been a source of controversy. What are the problems? How would you isolate them, and how are they being dealt with?
The paramedic program, as you know, we have finally completed paramedic service for all of Newcastle County now by putting the fifth station into place. So all residents of Newcastle County now have access to emergency medical service through the paramedic program. Again, budgetary considerations are extremely important. It's an expensive program. It's one that I support, however. I think it's an extremely good program here in Newcastle County, and my administration plans to continue providing that service. However, I did propose putting in a paramedic fee. We are one of the few counties in the country that does not charge a fee for using the paramedic service. So in order to provide that service in the years ahead, I would hope that council would agree to attaching a fee to the use of that service.
Mm-hmm. Now, you signed an executive order creating what's called the County Financial Advisory Council. Perhaps a lot of our viewers may not understand the impact of that, but I remember you saying, quote, "This county faces serious financial problems now and in the future because of the continually widening gap between income and expenditures," end of quote. Could you please elaborate on the nature and seriousness of these problems and explain how you think this group of corporate executives can help the county?
Well, we spoke earlier about the financial situation, and Newcastle County is not unique in that regard. Not only county governments, but municipal governments and state governments across the country are facing some financial problems, just as we do on our own family budgets. And we face those budgetary problems in Newcastle County government. One of the approaches that my administration took to solving those problems was to call upon the expertise of the private sector. And what I did was put together a voluntary board of individuals from the private sector, individuals from corporations, from the University of Delaware, investments, banking, to advise the county executive as well as county council on fiscal and financial matters. I think it's extremely important that those of us in government do not lose a business perspective on what we're doing. We must manage our affairs just as in our private lives we must manage our financial affairs, or we go broke. And I have no intentions of allowing Newcastle County government to go broke, and we want to rely upon the expertise in the private sector, and that's what this board is. It's an independent, objective group of financial experts from a cross-section of the financial community to give me and county council advice on financial matters in the county.
Now, is the corporate executives consisting of all large corporations and businesses, or are smaller businesses represented also?
Yes, there are a variety of representatives, as I said, not only from banking and investments, but from the corporate sector as well. They're also not only on the Financial Advisory Board, but on the Newcastle County Economic Development Corporation. Small business is well represented. And I think that's extremely important because although we have some major industry here in Newcastle County with the Pond Company, Hercules, and ICI, really small business is the bread and butter of what goes on not only in this state but in other states. And I think small business is extremely important, so therefore we rely upon the expertise of the small businessman as well.
How has the county's relationship with other governmental bodies that developed this year, i.e. the state and the city of Wilmington and Newark, been developing?
It's extremely good, and one that we emphasize in attracting other businesses to come into Delaware. And I think it's extremely important that Delaware, being a small state, that we turn that around as a tremendous asset. In most states, it's very difficult to get the major heads of government together. Here in Delaware, we can get the three heads of government, the governor, the county executive, and the mayor, together on short order. We can make some decisions in the best interests of all the citizens of our state and our county and city. And, pardon me, even though we are of different political persuasions, we have an excellent working relationship. Governor DuPont and Mayor McLaughlin and I meet on a regular basis to discuss a variety of issues. And I think that's something that Delawareans can be extremely proud of.
It is estimated that a tax on industrial fixtures, which some say is required by our state constitution, could bring in at least $20 to $30 million a year in county revenues. What's the county's official position as to the constitutionality of or as to whether there is a real constitutional requirement, and do you feel that there should be a fixtures tax?
I am already on record as opposing a fixtures tax. There are two schools of thought about the constitutionality of a fixtures tax. I happen to believe that it is not a constitutional issue. It's another form of taxation. Being a fiscal conservative, I am opposed to any new forms of taxation, and in fact I think it would be a negative here in Delaware and in Newcastle County. If we add on another layer of taxation, that sends a message to business that perhaps Delaware is not such a good place to do business. So I think the proper approach to funding government at whatever level is to first put our own financial house in order, do some belt tightening, reduce expenditures before we think about adding new taxes. So I'm opposed to it, and I think it would have some very serious economic repercussions here in Newcastle County.
Speaking of taxes, the county, of course, has a very important role in tax assessment. Would you please explain the basic particulars of the county's role in tax assessment and what you see the future of tax assessment will be?
Newcastle County government derives most of its revenues from the property tax. That's our source of income to provide the services, libraries, parks and recreation, our very excellent Newcastle County police force. So all of those services are primarily funded from the property tax, which property owners in Newcastle County pay. The county also has the responsibility for reassessing property. The law requires that there be a periodic reassessment of property. And very simply what that means is reassessing the value of real property here in Newcastle County. The last reassessment we had was in 1970, so we are beyond the 10-year period for reassessing property, and basically what that means is a more equitable distribution of the property tax burden in the county. We all realize that property values fluctuate greatly within a 10-year period, and what that is, a reassessment means either a leveling up or a leveling down to more equitably distribute the property tax burden. The county is in the process of interviewing firms now to have a reassessment, and we would hope to get that accomplished as quickly as possible. We do need the cooperation of county council to get that done.
Rick, we're out of time. Real quickly, do you see the possibility of a new county mortgage bond program coming in to lighten up the burden on potential home buyers?
We're working on that now. It's very difficult for new home buyers to get into the home market. We're trying to do what we can to go with another home mortgage issue, and as soon as we have all the facts, we would hope to move forward with that.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank
This
you.
has been Rick Collins, the Newcastle County Executive, who's coming here to give us an idea of where our county's headed, and I want to thank you, Rick, for coming on our show.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.
Maybe you'll come back and give us an update shortly.
I would like to very much.